Hey, Ball State basketball fans, Happy New Year. The last game of the Ball State men's basketball season in 2024 coming at you against Anderson, and then we'll also talk a little bit about Maction coming up. But David Eha, Mick, Tidrow with you, broadcast crew for the men's basketball games. And this is an interesting time of the year for men's basketball just because there's one more game left of the true non-conference slate before we get into the MAC Sun Belt Challenge, of course, in February. But you look at what the schedule's been, it's a very light December, and Ball State's coming off a couple of wins.
Yeah, I mean, just a really quirky scheduling in the month of December. If you think about it, Mick, just 4 games for the Cardinals all month. But there's no question about it. The last 2 games they played, really some of the best basketball we've seen all season long. And, that's what Michael Lewis has been looking for. And, particularly that last game against Evansville, and that's a team that came out and won their last game against Missouri State. So, that was a good bounce back for Evansville, but for the Cards to dominate that game and to really do so defensively. And I think that's what Michael Lewis has been looking for. And, the Cardinals will come into this game ranked second in the Mid-American Conference in defense. And as you know, Mick, you may or may not make shots on any given night, but if you bring your defense, you're going to win your share of basketball games.
Yeah, the defense was specifically on display. Less than 50 points for Evansville in that game. We know that Evansville was missing one of its top scorers, but it really didn't seem to matter. Even if Pizzato played for Evansville, Ball State had a plan defensively, and it kind of wiped out anything Evansville was trying to do. A Bellarmine a win against Bellarmine as well the game before. These last 2 games, it feels like there's been a shift a little bit with this team.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, look, Michael Lewis shook up the starting lineup a little bit. He's got Mickey Pearson and Peyton Sparks coming off the bench. And I think that's one of the beauty of having team first guys like Mickey and Peyton. They didn't complain. They understand their role. They're still going to get minutes. And you see a very cohesive unit. You can see it in the body language of the guys on the bench. And of course, it helps if you're winning games and you're playing well. But I just think overall the energy, the effort, the cohesion, we knew it was going to take some time with so many new guys. You're seeing it all across college basketball. And I think you're starting to see that come together. And I don't think it's any coincidence. You're also seeing Peyton Sparks round into form. He's played very well. Particularly against Evansville. I mean, 20 points in 17 minutes of action. If they can get Peyton Sparks 25 plus minutes a game, the way he is playing right now, it's going to bode well coming into MAC season.
Yeah, I think that was a fun lineup that Coach Lewis had put out there in the last 2 games, right? Bring those 2 guys, Sparks and Pearson, off the bench. It ignited both of their play. Mickey hit 12 free throws against Bellarmine. Peyton Sparks comes in nearly a double-double against Evansville. When you look at those 2 guys, those 2 seem to be such a massive key to what this team can do.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, not only their play on the court, but their leadership. I mean, these are guys that have been around the block. They're veterans. No secret. Mickey Pearson at the end of that Bellarmine game, you mentioned the 12 for 12 free throws, but stepping up and knocking 2 big ones in with like 6 seconds to go to seal that game. And so, I think the pieces are coming together at just the right time. And look, I mean, some of the new guys, Jamari Fat Hill, of course, 7th in the MAC in scoring. We've seen what he can do, and now that he's starting to facilitate, and my goodness, Wansi Gorosito shooting 50% from the 3-point line. You've got the inside-outside threat. You got an athletic wing and Jamari Fat Hill. So a lot of the pieces that Michael Lewis was looking for when he put this roster together, a lot of veterans. You're starting to see that show up now on the court.
You mentioned Wansi Gorosito, I don't think he's cooled off yet. This guy, 50% from 3, 36 of 72 from the 3-point line. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it is uncanny. And there's that adage, if you're shooting 50% from 3, you're not shooting enough. I mean, he's 8th in the country in 3-point percentage, leads the MAC at 3.3 trays per game. So he has really given the Cardinals a lift. And the other thing that's so important, Mick, is it's pick your poison, right? If you've got a guy knocking down threes like that, and you're going to double team on the block, then Cards will take that all day long. And the first couple games, the Cardinals started out, I think the first four games were shooting around 28% from 3 point land, and it just allowed teams to pack things in. And when you're having success from three, it stretches the defense and give those big guys more room to operate. And I think that's one of the reasons you see the efficiency of Peyton Sparks and Ben Hendricks. They're getting a little bit more room to operate in that paint.
You're absolutely right. And 5 of 5 for Peyton last game, 10 of 12 from the free throw line, 20 points, 5 boards, and he did all that in 17 minutes. So when you talk about the efficiency of the 3 point shooting, allowing guys like Peyton and Ben to get to work down low, we saw that really on full display against Evansville.
Yeah, we did. And I think the other thing we saw is Peyton Sparks getting up and down the court. There was one of those possessions where Peyton got the block, almost pinned it against the backboard, sprinted down the other end, and was able to secure an offensive rebound off of a missed shot. And that just shows you with Peyton rounding into form. He struggled earlier, had some illness, and I think that was indicative of what you can see moving forward because he just brings so much energy and is kind of the heart and soul of this ball club. You see the fiery, when he blocked the shot. And I think for the Cards to get where they want to be this season, number 5 has to play a big role in that.
And Peyton Sparks also closing in on 1,000 career points, less than 20 to go for him in his 2.5+ year career here at Ball State. David Mick, Tidrow talking a little bit of Ball State men's basketball here on New Year's Eve before things get rolling. Ball State plays Anderson. This is a good tune-up one final time before conference play starts because once conference starts, it is going to be off and running with that first game at Kent State.
Yeah, it really is. And if you look around the league, there's a lot of teams playing these lesser D2, D3 schools leading into the MAC because, there's not a lot of D1 teams that'll put you on the schedule at this juncture because everybody's getting ready to start their league. But Anderson, I mean, look, that's a good ball club. You got to give Carter Collins, their coach, credit. His third year, they've gone to the NCAA tournament their last 2 seasons. They're 7-3. They lead their conference in scoring. They lead their conference in field goal percentage defense. So it's not going to be a slouch. I mean, you mentioned at the outset of this broadcast how Kent State struggled with Heidelberg yesterday at home. So Cards got to come prepared. From what I've seen, I've watched Anderson play one game. They played 2-3 zone the entire contest. So it's going to be a little bit different. I can't recall the Cards facing a team that played zone the entire game. And here's the thing: Anderson has a game today at 4 o'clock, so they're already knee deep in their league play. This won't count against them on their schedule, but kind of unique that they've got a game today and then a matinee tomorrow against Ball State.
Yeah, that's a very unique schedule for them. It reminds me of what Florida Tech had to do earlier in the season when Ball State took on Florida Tech in the Gulf Coast Showcase down there in Fort Myers. When you look at what is coming for this Ball State team against the Mid-American Conference, first game right out of the gates is Kent State. That's a team that has had its ups and downs so far this year. They barely beat Heidelberg in their last game, but it's a team that currently stands at the top of the Mid-American Conference non-conference standings.
Yeah, I mean, look, year in and year out, you know what you're going to get with Kent State and a Rob Senderhoff coach team. They're going to be extremely aggressive on the defensive end. They have the best record in the league so far, 9-3, and they're struggling a little bit right now with injuries. And you got to give Heidelberg credit. They went into Kent and almost won that game, lost by just 4 points. But Kent is playing without 3 guys that typically get a lot of minutes. And the injury for me to watch, they've got a point guard transfer out of St. Louis, Sion Medley, who's really made a significant difference for them. He hurt his shoulder 2 games ago, did not play against Heidelberg, so we'll see if he's in the lineup Saturday. But Kent State leading the MAC in defensive field goal. They're one of the most efficient defensive teams in the country. You know it's going to be a physical game. They're always tough to win at Kent State. So nothing like starting off MAC season with the best.
Yeah, that's right. 9-3 for Kent State so far, and the rest of the MAC starting to figure it out a little bit too. There's Akron and Miami 7-4, Eastern Michigan and Toledo are 6-6, and then you have Ball State, Central Michigan, and Ohio all at 5-6. So a lot of teams within a game of 500 or already at 500 or above. This is going to be a very interesting conference race to watch this year.
Boy, interesting is definitely the way to put it. I think it's as wide open, Mick, as I've ever seen it. And, it's really hard to gauge, right? Because of the competition teams played in the non-conference. It's really difficult to look at the records, but there's nobody that really jumps out at you as the absolute team to beat. I mean, it's wide open. There's so many teams that lost good players. They're trying to meld them into a cohesive unit. And the one thing I see, the defensive statistics across the board, other than Kent State and Ball State, some of these teams, their defensive category stats are just very, very bad right now. And so I think these coaches in the MAC are trying to find combinations that are going to go out, compete, and play defense. And but it's as wide open as I've ever seen, Mick. So you want to get off to a good start. You got 9 road games, 9 home games. Every single one of them in the league is going to be tough, and it's why this is the most important part of the year, right? You got the non-conference, see what you got, grow a little bit, but these next 18 games will tell you everything you need to know.
Yep, finishing up the 2024 side of things against Anderson on Tuesday afternoon, 2 o'clock tip inside Worthen, 888 BSU ticket for all of your ticket needs, or go ahead and visit ballstatesports.com/tickets. Before we let you go, what are your New Year's plans outside of being here in Muncie for some basketball on New Year's Eve?
Yeah, well, a little football watching.
All right.
Obviously living here in Columbus, there's no shortage of Ohio State parties on New Year's Day. So imagine be hitting one of those. But other than that, just enjoy the matinee over in Worthen. Have a little fun New Year's Eve. Watch a ton of football New Year's Day, and then get ready for action starting Saturday at Kent State.
Hey,
How about yourself, Mick?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we're just gonna hang out. My wife Gabby and the dog Enzo. I think we're all just gonna keep it low key this year, and I'll hang out and watch the festivities on TV. So I think we'll be pretty easy going this year.
There you go, buddy. There you go.
And your Bengals still alive? It sounds like they've got a chance. There's a chance.
Still alive. Need some help. Thank you. I know the Colts fans right now are absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to talk about that part.
Yeah, so I won't open that can of worms. But it's one of those situations, man. You hate to see, as good as Joe Burrow is playing, for them not to get in, but it just kills you losing those winnable games early on is coming back to haunt them. So I haven't given up hope. They need a lot of help, but we'll see what happens Saturday night against the Steelers.
Well, we'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Appreciate you as always, my man.
All right, partner. Look forward to it. We'll see you then. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Cardinals fans. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Ball State Anderson men's basketball.